Okay, so if you're having a hard time with the whole goal setting process and the very term goals stresses you out and you just start to feel all uncomfortable, I'm going to give you some things that can help you actually approach this process with joy. So there are a couple things that you want to do. You want to rejoice, recommit, revise, remove, or replace. And we'll talk about all of those in a minute, but I just want to give you the first three right now. So if you've reached a goal before, it's important that you rejoice when you hit that milestone, especially you as a high achiever. If you're watching this, you are somebody who already knows, you know how to get things done. No doubt you are a leader. You're someone who other people look up to for your knowledge, wisdom, and for your advice. And so it's important that you celebrate the goal as you achieve it. Also, it's important to recommit to it. If you can't recommit to the goal, if it's kind of burning you out, you're not feeling as excited as you once were, then perhaps it's time to revise the goal so you can achieve it. By the way, if you're new here, my name is Giovanna, Lady J Ellison, and I am committed to helping high achievers just like you thrive in life and in business while keeping God first. I am the founder and CEO of the Thrive Mastermind, and for the past 15 years in business, we have been helping leaders just like you go to the next level. And I'm excited to be here on the YouTube universe, helping you to go to the next level in your life and in your business. So yeah, so you want to either rejoice, recommit if you can't, if you, once you've achieved it, well, if you can't recommit to it, then revise it. Right? Revise the goal so you can achieve it. And if you can't revise it, then maybe it's time to remove it altogether from your list. Nobody ever said you had to be, locked in, you know, fully to that thing. You can remove it if you need to. And then you can also replace it with another if you want to achieve it. So it's important as you're doing this whole goal setting thing that you have um, goals that are truly your own, not goals that necessarily belong to someone else, because people will gladly give you what they think you should do. But at the end of the day, you want to make sure that you're setting your own milestones, your own habits. And if the whole goal setting thing is not for you, look at it as in terms of habits as well. You want to make sure that you're setting up healthy habits so that you can meet those goals. And oftentimes, right around this time, people are setting goals in specific areas, things like their health. I want to lose that last 10 or 20 pounds, or however many it may be for you. Their health, their relationships, right? Want to get better in their area of relationships, your finances, right? Finally getting out of debt, finally getting that emergency fund, or being able to build wealth and give the way you truly want to give. I'll never forget when I was a little teenager. I used to say to myself, one of these days, Lord, bless me in such a way, bless my business. I didn't know I was going to start a business then, right? But as I got older and the Lord put up my heart to start a business, and I was surrounded with great leaders and mentors, I started my company. And even then, as a teenager, my prayer was, Lord, help me to make the business successful so I can take care of my mama. That has been my prayer since I can remember. And I tell you, if you pray something and it is in alignment with God's will, He will make that thing happen for you, because I'm a firm believer that where God guides, God provides, and where God directs, God protects. I used to always hear our spiritual father, Bishop Charles E. Blake Sr., say that when he would dedicate the little babies, he would say, he'd have the little baby in his arms, and then he'd say, where God guides, God provides, and where God directs, God protects. And I would hear that since I was a teenager, and it just stuck. So, whatever you may be going through, whatever you may be facing, I want to encourage you that not only are you going to get through it, but you're going to thrive through it. So, take a look at those goals. And also, there's a great program, and I'll try to link it below, by Michael Hyatt. It's called Best Year Ever. I've been doing Best Year Ever now. Gosh, I can't remember how many years I've been doing it, but I do it every year at the start of the year for outlining your goals, where you want to be, creating that to do list, or not just to do list, but I like to call it a to be list. Who are you going to become in this new season? How is your character going to become stronger? What are you going to say no to so that you can say yes to the best part, right? There's a great book by Lisa TerKeurst called The Best Yes. In fact, I may need to do a training on ways, graceful ways to say no and still preserve the relationship. Because some people are getting so caught up in saying yes to everything that they don't have time for the stuff that really matters, right? As you grow, as you become more successful, you have to become even more protective of your time, because time is definitely a finite resource. We only get so much of it. Life is a gift, death is a promise. So we have to be sure that we are taking time for what truly matters the most. So, as I get ready to go, I want to share this with you. I have been doing a series now on this wonderful book. It's called An Understanding Heart, and it's by Dan Miller. You can see it there. And Dan was my first business coach. And I tell you, he was more than just a coach. He was like more like a father figure to me. And I'm so grateful for his influence in my life. And one of the things I wanted to do to honor his memory was to share these writings with you. So this particular one is called Which Comes First? Generosity or wealth? A monk who was traveling in the mountains found a precious stone in a stream. The next day, he met another traveler who was hungry, and the monk opened his bag to share his food. The hungry traveler saw the precious stone in the monk's bag, admired it, and asked the monk to give it to him. The monk did so without hesitation. The traveler left rejoicing in his good fortune. He knew the jewel was worth enough to give him security for the rest of his life. But a few days later, he came back searching for the monk. When he found him, he returned the stone and said, I've been thinking. I know how valuable this stone is, but I give it back to you in the hope that you can give me something much more precious. If you can, give me what you have within you that enabled you to give me this stone. Wow, right? So many times we just want the fruit without the sacrifice. Wow, but the traveler said, no, I want you to give me what was inside of you so I can go and get 100 more stones, a billion more stones like this. Wow, okay. I just had to stop there and interject my little commentary because that right there alone will have a preach sermon on its own. A couple of years ago, Joanne and I, and Joanne is his wife, attended a 30-year celebration and fundraising event for Mercy Ministries. The program took place as the very first event in the stunning ballroom of the brand new Music City Center in Nashville, Tennessee. The surroundings were gorgeous. The flowers were spectacular. The music second to none. CeCe Winans, and we know she's amazing. And the host for the event was entertaining and thought-provoking. But the highlight for me was meeting lots and lots of people with big hearts and open pocketbooks. The attendees represented many countries, ethnicities, faith perspectives, and businesses. The one thing that connected them was their generosity. And let me say this, most times, the most successful people that you meet, they all have an underlying, they have a similar characteristic. Can you guess what it is? It's not their money, although they may have that. It's not their success, although they have that. But it is relentless, fanatical levels of integrity. They are people of integrity. Wow, that makes a huge difference. All right, so let me get my place here. These are people who understood that water stops flowing because becomes stagnant, blood that stops moving clots, and a person who only inhales will turn blue and pass out. I talked with a guy who had just purchased 9,000 acres in eastern Tennessee. He wondered if I had any ideas about its potential to benefit others. The word affluence comes from the Latin affluere, which means to flow to. It appears generous people, it appears people have money flowing toward them. We all know the principle, it's not new. In fact, we read about it in the New Testament. For if you give, you will get. Your gift will return to you in full and overflowing measure, pressed down, shaken together to make room for more and running over. Whatever measure you use to give, large or small, will be used to measure what is given back to you. And that's Luke chapter 6, verse 38. I'm convinced you must think and act like a wealthy person before you'll ever have a chance to be one. So, how does that play out when you're struggling to pay your own mortgage? If you are a poor monk, you're not likely to be seen as the source of a big donation. But generosity is related more to spiritual characteristics than material resources. The true meaning of generosity implies courage, strength, gentleness, and fairness. Having a giving heart involves much more than writing big checks. The law of giving is actually very simple. If you want more joy, give joy to others. If you want love, learn to give love. If you want happiness, help others to be happy. And yes, if you want material affluence, learn to help others become material affluent. My wife, Joanne, spends time each week writing thank you notes to her many people who are connected with her in some way. And she is so good at this. I have several thank you notes from her that I still have to this day. Her natural generosity attracts others who want to give, and her gratitude is expressed in a multitude of ways that may or may not include writing a check. Giving doesn't have to be about material things. It can be a flower, a compliment, a word of encouragement, or just having a good attitude. It could mean sitting with someone in their grief or sadness, mowing someone's yard, or writing a note to share your thankfulness for someone's friendship. Our potential for wealth is not shown in our bank account as much as it is in the attitude of our heart. Give generously, and wealth of all kinds will start to move towards you. Benjamin, Benjamin Disraeli said, "The greatest good you can do for others, for another, is not just to share your riches, but to reveal to him his own." Again, the greatest good you can do for another is not just to share your riches, but to reveal to him his own. So, how are you helping someone see the best inside of them? How are you helping someone to generate that generosity muscle inside of them? Go forth and do great things, because I'm telling you, it's within you to do. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope that you were blessed. Listen, be sure you share this episode with someone who can be encouraged by it as well. And if you'd so like, I'd love for you to subscribe and join our family of growing high achievers and leaders from all over who are committed to keeping God first in business as well. Thank you so much for being here. And for even more inspiration, go ahead and watch the next video. We'll see you next time.